The only way to really bring about change in your life starts with a pivot. This is something that I have been preaching for years now. In my life, I have taken many steps to accomplish certain goals, to reach certain opportunities, and every single time that things start to feel stagnant, or I just find myself in a situation that I hate, it's time to pivot. And the ability to, one, pivot, and two, recognize when to pivot are so crucial to that process as well, and are going to be things that I'm going to be talking about today. So first off, when to pivot. You know when to pivot when things start feeling hard. Not that the actual activities or the work that you're putting into things are hard, because sometimes those pivots warrant those as well. It's the act of recognizing like, oh, there's a lot of resistance because I just hate what I'm doing. I don't like it. It doesn't feel aligned to like what I want to be doing, to where I want to be. Once you feel that resistance, when you feel in your gut that this is not what I am meant to be doing, and your body does not feel safe, then it is time to pivot. At the end of the day, you don't deserve to live inauthentically. You deserve to show up and be able to fully express yourself to the highest ability that you can. If you are feeling these really stagnant, really resisting forces of just having to show up and do the things that you're doing, you can most likely do them, but it doesn't mean that you should do them. I think that was like one of the hardest things for me to realize too. I take a lot of pride in my ability to get things done and work really hard, but at the end of the day, sometimes the things that I had to do or was believing that I had to do were not actually so. I was just doing it because I knew that I could, but it was whittling me away who I was authentically, and no one deserves that. There's a difference between feeling resistance for showing up as yourself authentically, or feeling resistance and then retreating and not actually showing up who you are authentically and conducting yourself in the ways you would like, versus feeling a lot of passion and feeling like you're doing things that you find in line with who you are, and those things just happen to be difficult. The ability to recognize that and sit with those two different scenarios can only be deciphered through coming back to yourself and really staying in tune with how your body feels. One, do you feel safe? Two, do you feel like you are showing up authentically? And three, are you fulfilled? And if those things aren't true, then you're living inauthentically or feeling the restriction of being who you truly are. And then it warrants a pivot. Once you realize that it's time to pivot, it's really important to decipher what that pivot is. And that takes a lot of, one, strength, and two, creativity. Sometimes even trying to decipher ways that like maybe feel really scary and do things that seem like a setback. But sometimes you have to have things crumble to rebuild. I think one of my favorite ways that I have realized this was through tarot, actually. Whether you believe in tarot or not, I think a card that is really important to signify the act of letting things crumble and tumble before you can rebuild again is the Tower card. Let me see if I can find the Tower card. I don't have a typical tarot deck, but this is the Tower card. As you can see, there is a tower and it's crumbling down, but there's still roots there. Like here, this one specifically has like snakes coming out of the door. You're letting all the snakes in your closet out. You're letting things clear out so that you can rebuild. And it's very scary. And validating those feelings is also so important to the process of pivoting, because when you allow yourself to feel the emotions you're feeling and sit in them and honor them, you're keeping your body safe, one, and two, you're validating who you are authentically. You're validating your feelings, your emotions, and everybody deserves that as well. I would say one of the most significant pivots in my life was the decision to transfer from the previous university I was at. I had worked really hard in high school, and like I said earlier, I did it to the point where it dwindled my spirit and made me place a lot of my own self-worth on my ability to achieve and do things. It was just the way I conditioned myself, or maybe the way that I wanted praise for the things I was doing. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to feel that validation for my abilities. And at the end of the day, I was really, really upset when the best school I got into was not one that I had originally wanted to go to. So I egoically picked the school that had the best acceptance rate, or the lowest acceptance rate. Even though it was a private Christian university, which did not align with me, I decided to go there. And I didn't like it. I felt really limited in who I was. I felt really restricted, and I didn't feel like the people or the things part of the culture on campus aligned with me. And I knew that going into it, but again, I wanted the recognition of going to a school that was decently hard to get into and had merit, and that wasn't right. I hated it. I was depressed. I was sad. I was constantly changing who I was because I wanted to fit in, and I wanted friends, and I wanted to feel included in an environment that I just wasn't. I didn't belong there, and that's okay. So I transferred. And in order to transfer, because the school was a private institution and had its own regulations for courses, I had to come home. And that was a really big hit to my ego, to my own self-concept of being this very bright person who was straight out of high school going to go to an amazing school and become a lawyer and do all these amazing things. I had worked so hard for this. Like, I deserved this, right? That's what I thought. I had to come home. I had to go back to community college, or go to community college in the first place, and take classes. And I don't know why I thought that this was so horrible, but I mean, obviously I do not think this now. I think community college is very smart, and I think community college can get you access to some amazing opportunities and get you to some amazing places. It's just the ability to recognize that some of the brightest people I know have gone to community college and been in community college. And I hate that I used to perceive it like that. So, if that's you, don't. Don't. Because I think, like, community college taught me so much about myself, too. So that's, I think, a great option to explore education if you don't have the means to go to school straight out of college or high school, or if you need to pivot. So I went to community college, and I took 9 courses in one semester to make up for all the units that didn't transfer while I was at my previous institution. It was brutal. I was also in the midst of like a crazy breakup of a 3.5-year relationship, and this tower moment, like, this is like the pivotal tower moment in my life. Like, everything I knew completely crumbled. My relationships, my friendships, I guess a part of relationships, my idea of where I was going. I changed my major. Everything had to pivot completely. Like, not even a pivot at this point, I guess. It's like a full 180. But it's important. And I am just so grateful that I did these things and I listened to my body for the first time and I listened to what I wanted. So I did well in my community college classes and I transferred to a really great school and I'm so happy here. I listened to my body. I knew where I wanted to be and I let things unfold the way that they were meant to because I knew what felt right. Setting that pattern of being able to pivot will let it become easier in the future because there's going to be multiple pivots in your life. Right now, I'm pivoting again. Like I said earlier, I wanted to be a lawyer. I had wanted to be a lawyer for my entire life, basically. Since I was 11, I had been told that I would be a great lawyer, but I didn't want to be a lawyer. I wanted the recognition, the acceptance, the validation that came with being a lawyer. So, this past week, I have decided not to be a lawyer, and that seems like an easy decision when you aren't the president of a pre-law fraternity and going to school for 4 years in your final year, planning on going to law school after, and taking LSATs. So it's like another complete identity shift, especially because it had been so integral to what I thought I wanted to do for so long. I didn't feel fulfilled, and I don't feel fulfilled. Right now, thankfully, I'm in a major I really enjoy. I'm a sociology major, and I have been so grateful that I switched my major when I transferred schools because I've gotten to explore and learn about things that I find so deeply important and have found so much passion for. I'm going to be starting my thesis next quarter. Still got to figure out what exactly I want to do for that, but maybe I'll do another video on that. At the end of the day, it is the pivot. It is the act of steering your body in a completely different direction. The tower moments, the leaps of faith, if you will, that are the direct refusals that you deserve better. And at the end of the day, you deserve the best. Everyone deserves to be as happy as they possibly can be within means that are safe and cultivating a life that is fulfilling for them because, again, life is so short. And most of that has to be done through being very aware of you and your feelings and your emotions and how you feel safe and the patterns you've lived with and the way that you express yourself and hold yourself to certain standards. You have to be aware of these things because once you really look at them, you can only then see if it is something that was programmed into you to follow these careers, follow these passions, follow these drives, or is this just something you really, really want to do? And it's so scary. It is so scary to look at yourself so deeply. And once you do, though, and once you make these choices, you can build a more fulfilling life. Now, I'm not saying pivot everything in your entire life ever, because if you start something and then pivot again and then pivot again and then pivot again and don't feel things out, you might regret it. When I first transferred, I thought I was going to hate the school I was at. I planned to go abroad the quarter after I had arrived. I had everything lined up before I had even attended the school, just in case. If I had gone abroad, then I would have missed so many amazing people that have been so vital to who I am now. I just wouldn't have met them. And these people have changed my life, and I am so happy, and I would never give that up for the world. So, please, listen to yourself. if you are feeling happy in your situation, if you are feeling like you belong, stay. I went abroad later. I went abroad this past summer, after I had settled in, and that was really uncomfortable for me there. I was really having a hard time, but I learned a lot because I put myself in these uncomfortable situations and I worked really hard like I always do. I was able to realize that I didn't want to do law because I was working in an art gallery. I worked for the first time doing something that was outside of my typical idea of what I wanted to do. It's giving yourself the ability to be flexible. It's giving yourself the room to breathe, to adapt, to grow, to find new hobbies, new interests. It's consumption in a way that is cultivating your most authentic self. Pivoting can just be a variety of things, but the overall concept of pivoting, the act of taking a step in a new direction, shifting your weight, or maybe even doing a full 180, your tower moment, can you rebuild and then become your most authentic self and bring in the life that you deserve. I hope that was a little bit validating for some of you, because it's so scary. It will change your life, and you deserve your life to change in the way that brings you everything you ever wanted. There are things that are meant for you, and you are the only one that can recognize that. And know that you're special and unique and loved. I feel really strongly about this topic and have been really enjoying just talking about these things that I find so important to be who you really are and live your most fulfilling, deserving life. I appreciate you for being here and listening, and I hope you'll stick around. I really hope that this was validating or allowed you to maybe be able to contemplate some things about yourself. I hope that you liked the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you subscribed and maybe stuck around. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.